you're up.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. This meeting is held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act 10:4-6 at SEEK. Annual notice having been forwarded to the New Jersey Herald and the New Jersey Sunday Herald and posted on the bulletin board maintained in the municipal building for public announcements. Would you all please rise and join me for a salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America,
and to
to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under
under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty
and
and
justice for
for
all.
all.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to welcome our two new members, Rich Shirella and Steve Kusovic. They're full-time members to the board now, so we can call a roll, Amy.
Mr. Bongiovanni,
Here.
Mr. Shirella,
Here.
Mr. Delarita,
Here.
Ms. Crock,
Here.
Kuzovic,
Here.
Mr. Wright,
Here.
Mr. Rossi, Mr. Taylor,
Here.
Councilman Smith, sorry,
Here.
Mayor Galat.
Here.
Okay, minutes. A motion is in order to approve the minutes of the January 16th, 2024 meeting. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Bongiovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Shirella,
Yes.
Mr. Delarita,
Yes.
Ms. Crock,
Yes.
Mr. Kuzovic,
Yes.
Mr. Wright,
Yes.
Mr. Rossi, I'm sorry, Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Galat.
Yes.
Okay. First item on the agenda is correspondence. Do we have any correspondence? Nothing? Okay. Escrow refunds, we have none? No escrow refunds? Okay. Next item is bills. Do I have a motion to pay the bills?
Pay the bills.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a
I'll
second?
second it. I'll second it.
Mr. Bongiovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Shirella,
Yes.
Mr. Delarita,
Yes.
Ms. Crock,
Yes.
Mr. Kuzovic,
Yes.
Mr. Wright,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Galat.
Yes, I have a question though.
Go ahead.
Is it possible to get the dates of what these bills are, these invoices? When they're presented on here?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's my question.
Okay. Next item is the zoning officer report. Bill, do we have anything?
Nothing this evening.
Okay. Discussion, do we have any old business to discuss? No? Seeing none, do we have any new business to discuss? No? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to continued applications. We have no continued applications, so we're gonna move right to a new application. First application tonight is RGS Construction LLC, block 11105, lot 2 and 15, number 12 Billings Road. Is someone here from RGS Construction?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, George Simeon for the applicant.
Okay,
And
right.
I'm the applicant, Rob Simeon, here, present.
okay. All right, tell us what you like to do.
All right.
I don't know who's gonna speak, the attorney or you're gonna handle it, or?
I'm assuming the attorney's gonna make an opening statement, then I'll swear in the two witnesses.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is George Simeon, 4 Kiner Avenue, Stanhope, New Jersey. I'm representing RGS Construction LLC, which is the owner of the property in question, 12 Billings in Apacon, also known as Billinge. I think it was a name change at some point, but some people still use the old address on the 200-foot list. With me is the managing member of the LLC who introduced himself, Robert Simeon. And our engineer should be on here as well, Mr. Jess Simmons from the firm Ferrara Engineering, which recently changed its name. It's now known as Boswell Engineering. I don't believe there was a merger. I just want, before we swear in the witnesses, I'd like to just give a little background on the property. Prior to my client purchasing this property, the previous owner purchased adjoining property from the borough of Apacon in an effort to make her lot more conforming to the required 15,000 square feet in the zone. Lot 15 was purchased from the borough, and it was merged with Lot 2, which were both vacant lots. That resulted in the lot now shown on the site plan that we submitted. The tax collector told me Lot 15 is no longer recognized. They just recognized the combined lot as Lot 2. One other thing, as part of our application, the applicant is required to notify adjoining property owners of this application. What is commonly referred to as the Nash letter was sent out certified mail to 5 houses that surround the property, and no response was received by my office as of this date. I believe the proof of mailing was submitted to the board secretary or board clerk. Our first witness will be the owner of the property, Robert Simeone, so we can swear him, and our second witness will be Jess Simmons, the engineer.
Okay. Sir, do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Would you be kind enough to state your name, spell your last name for the record, and give us the location of either your office or your address?
Sure. Robert Simeone. The address is 71 Eberhart Road, East Hanover, New Jersey, 07936. Spelling of the last name, S-I-M as in Mary, E-O-N as in Nancy, E.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome.
All right. Robert, you are the managing member of RGS Construction LLC, is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
And RGS is the current owner of the property that we're here tonight about, 12 Billings?
Correct.
Okay. And you are proposing to build a single-family home on this property. And we submitted a architect drawing from Matthew Smetana. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. How many bedrooms and bathrooms are on this house?
The plan calls for 4 bedrooms, 2 full baths, and 1 half bath.
Okay, and this is a 2-story home, correct?
Yes.
All right, and what is the approximate square footage on the first and second floor?
The combined square footage is about 3,300 square feet.
And in that 3,300 square feet is the garage that's recessed into the first floor. Is that counted in there?
I believe not.
Okay, so the livable square footage is 3,300,
Correct.
not counting the basement, which may or may not be constructed depending on the condition of the property.
Yes, correct.
All right, and how would you characterize the style of this home?
The home, it would be Center Hall Colonial.
Okay, and if we were looking at the site, you have the site plan with you, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and that was done by Ferrero Engineering. If you're looking down at the site plan in front of you, to the left is York and to the right is Berkeley. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, and the house to the left that's on York faces York, correct? On that
Yes.
corner.
Yep.
And the house on Berkeley faces Berkeley rather than Billings. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
All right, so between Berkeley and York, your house is the only one between those 2 cross streets that is on that side of Billings.
Yes.
Okay. And the houses that surround your property, could you give me a general idea of what type of houses are in that area?
Yeah, the houses, I would say that they're mixed between the standard bi-levels. You have some raised ranches, and you also have a few Center Hall Colonials all around the property and the surrounding streets.
Okay, and the style of the house that you're building here that we're showing on this conceptual architect plan, has this style house been built anywhere else in Apacon in the area?
Yes, I would say in the last 3 years, there were several vacant land properties that have constructed a very similar style house with a similar size as well.
All right. And I'm gonna have to, we're gonna ask the engineer this question, but there was a letter from, let me just put it away. A letter from Mott McDonald, which was the borough's engineer. And I mean, I could ask you this later, but they had given a review of our site plan and our application and made some recommendations. Did you have a chance to go over that with me? The letter, do you remember? All right, you know what? I'll come back to this one because I was going to ask the engineer this first. All right, I have nothing further for Mr. Simeon if the board has any questions.
Mr. Simeon, did you receive a letter from John Rushke's office, Mott McDonald?
Mr. Simeon, meaning me? Or my son, the other person, the applicant's my son. So
Oh, well, okay, the applicant then.
he did, we went over it, but I'm gonna let the engineer go over it first, and then he can either accept it or,
Is the engineer present?
Yes, I am.
there he is.
Well, have him sworn in.
Yes, why am I not seeing you, Jeff?
I don't know. I can see me, but
All
I see, I see him.
right, maybe it's just me. All right,
He's on.
all right. Sir, do you swear affirm the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Would you be kind enough to state your name, spell your last name, and the location of your professional office, please?
My name is Jess Simons, Symonds. The office is Boswell Engineering at 180 Main Street in Chester. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey, and my license is in good standing.
Mr. Simeon, are you going to qualify him beyond that, or do you want me to ask questions?
You could ask him some, I mean, I think he's testified before the board before, but if you want to ask questions, that's fine.
Okay, well, if he's testified before the board, you've been qualified before the board, this board, is that correct?
Yes, I have.
And your, as you've indicated, your license is still in full force and effect,
Yes, it is.
and you have continued to represent various developers and have been accepted through various boards, planning, zoning, and land use boards previously on numerous occasions, have you not?
Yes, I have.
I have no additional questions unless Mr. Rushke has any questions of Mr. Simons.
No questions.
Why don't you proceed?
Okay. Mr. Simons, are you familiar with the site plan submitted to the board by Ferrero, that was prepared by Ferrero Engineering, the previous firm that before the name changed to Boswell Engineering?
Yes, I am.
All right. And can you give us an overview of the property for some of the people that may be tuning in on the Zoom call that don't have access?
Yes, it's a existing lot, developed on both sides. They're proposing a 41-foot by 48-foot footprint for the dwelling. There are some steep slopes on the lot, and we need to do some tree removal. In total, we are going to remove 8 trees within this steep slopes, and we're going to replace those trees around the perimeter of the lot with 16 replacement trees, both hardwood and evergreen trees.
Okay, and does your site plan show the location of the well that will be used on this property?
It does show it on sheet 3.
Yes, it does.
Okay, and
Yes,
the
it does.
property is going to be serviced by existing municipal sewer, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, what, can you tell us what is the square footage of the lot as it stands now?
Yeah. 12,717 feet, whereas 15,000 square feet are required.
Okay, so the only variance that we're requesting to make this lot conforming is the size of the lot, is that correct?
That's correct, and this lot is larger than all the adjoining lots around it, and they're fully developed.
Do you know the approximate sizes of the 5 adjoining lots? Can you give us an idea?
I can't tell you exactly, but they're closer to 10,000 square feet each.
Okay, was that, do you know if that was the original requirement for this area before? Are you familiar with, history?
No, no, I'm not.
Okay.
Sorry.
already? And, okay, so let's see, you, did you have a chance to review the letter from Mott McDonald, from Mr. Rushkey dated December 27th, 2023?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And with the exception of number one, which was a change on the architect drawings to include the name of the architect, in your opinion, can you comply with the other technical requests in this letter?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, does the board want Mr. Simmons to address each one on the record, set one by one, or is his answer that he can do everything on the letter sufficient?
Well, as long as he's gonna comply with everything in Mott McDonald's letter, then we don't have to address every single one by one.
Okay. All right,
You-
I have nothing.
I have one
but-
question for Mr.
Yep.
Simmons. Did you do some test holes where the dry wells are gonna be?
No, we have not yet.
Because I see that there's quite a bit of rock on that piece of
Yes.
property.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
no, I share that concern, Bob. I just, when you look at the topography of this lot, everything is going to the south, and we certainly don't want to have negative impacts to the adjoining property owner. So it is important that, the dry well be installed and we make sure that it is in fact functional.
I mean, maybe a condition of approval is that we have to verify that, some type of system can be installed there to.
Yes, so that was my requirement for them to do
Right.
the testing to verify it, because I think if they can't make it work, I think I may have to kick them back to the board then, because, they
Yep.
definitely got to have some type of drainage, mitigation on this lot, because we don't want them to be sending more water, to the adjoining property owners and negatively impacting those property owners.
John,
Jeff,
I'm
that's
sorry.
your, comment number 11, is it not in your report?
It is, yes, it is.
Just so that that when before the sewers were put into this property, the previous owner had started to put together an engineering report for a septic system on the property, which was if you're facing the property to the left, near where in the well area. So they had done some test holes and perk tests in that area, which I believe had passed. So we do have areas in the property that probably would accommodate the drainage system. Well, we will check out where we're showing it, and if it can't go from there, we'll see if there's another area in the property that can handle it.
Yeah, because we do want, as part of if the board does look favorable on the application, we have to go through resolution of compliance and do that testing, because we don't want to issue, a building permit prior to knowing that it's going to work.
Got it.
That was my main concern, just the stormwater. So I don't know if any other board members have any questions of the applicant.
I have none, no. No, I have nothing.
I mean, the lot it seems to be substantially larger than the 5 that are right around it, So, I mean, they need one variance for square footage. That's it, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
All right, no board members have any questions?
No.
Okay, then I'll open this application to the public. Is anybody from the public who to comment on this application? Go to the bottom of your screen and reactions, click on the little hand.
And so that the members of the public are aware, this is an opportunity not only for you to make comments, but also to ask questions of the 2 witnesses that are here. So feel free to do that. However, because it's going to be a combination of questions and comments, just as I've done to the 2 witnesses by the applicant, you will be sworn in. It's as you can see, it's not very painful, but it has to be done. It's even though you guys consider it comments, it is really testimony similar to what has been given by the 2 witnesses for the applicant. So with that, if anybody has any comments or questions, this would be the time.
Danielle, I don't know who, or Amy, who was first?
Denise and Will.
Denise and Will
I'm not going
Crosoulis.
to say the last name. I don't want to crucify it. You can unmute yourselves, please.
Hi, Mr. Thomas, you have to swear them in, correct?
I do. Okay. Excuse me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth? So help you God.
Yes.
Okay. Would you be kind enough to state, is it both of you? I can only see one.
Yeah, oh, sorry, yeah, he's William and Denise.
Okay.
If you need to swear me in as well, right, that's fine.
All right, good. And if you'd be kind enough, just for the record, to spell your last name, please.
Sure. Krouuslis.
Thank you. If you have questions, feel free to do that, or if you have comments, either one would be.
Yeah, we have a few because we're at the 41 property. Just like with the water runoff, I guess that was a concern of ours. We just wanted to see, you know, how they're going to prevent the water from getting on our property. Water remediation. Also about, you know, our well is 1,000 feet below ground, and so we battle to have like really clean well water and stuff like that. So we were wondering what they plan to do to ensure that our well water is not impacted negatively as well. We just want to make sure that our well and our aquifer is okay. And also, like, I'm sure everybody knows the big boulders there. Basically, the boulders are right up against our property line. And we also want to see how they plan to remove those and to protect our quality of life and make sure that our property is protected and our foundation is protected.
Question for you. You're at 41 Berkeley. Is that your address?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so okay.
So
So
when
your property is kind of at the high point. His lot is kind of slopes away from your lot. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's basically facing our backyard. So like our backyard, and then we're looking at that lot.
So his lot is not higher than your lot, correct?
Yeah, because if I go that, like, I can, like, you see the big boulders and stuff. So it's definitely higher, and all that rainwater would come down and stuff. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which does bring into the fact of the boulder. I mean, when you're talking about large, massive boulders that you can see in the topography, one of the largest that is on that lot is maybe about tops 10 feet off of the corner of our foundation. So it is a large, significant quality of life issue. You know, how that boulder is going to be removed and how long it's going to take, and you know the ins and outs of what's going to be done to, again, like Denise said, protect our property and protect our foundation. Because it's massive boulder, massive.
We're very close. We don't have a big backyard, and it's like right up against our yard. And then there's a big tree there too. You know, I don't want the tree to, you know, removing those boulders, would it have an effect on the big tree that's on our property too? God forbid that tree goes, it would land right on our house.
I just have one more question. Did you say your well was 1,000 feet deep?
That's what we've been told.
That's what we've been told. Yes.
That we have
very knowledgeable.
You know,
and
we struggle to get water over here.
We do. Yeah, we have to fight to use a lot of filtration and putting the salt in, and it's and we have very low water pressure and that type of stuff. So we want to also make sure that our well is protected.
I guess, Mr. Simmons, can you address their concerns and questions?
I'm not sure I can address their quality of life concerns. I mean, our well is going to be well over 100 feet from theirs. So I would think the impact would be minimal. It's certainly not going to impact their water pressure because that has to do with the pump they have in the well. So,
Plan on doing any blasting on the property?
I haven't had our site contractor over there yet, so I can't really address that. I don't anticipate any blasting because the rock looked fractured. But you know, until you start pulling it apart, you don't know.
Generally, when you're in neighborhoods, they use a hydraulic hammer rather than blast.
Okay.
So, Mr. Simmons, in other words, if there is blasting, there is, as you know, there are requirements for notification and all of that. Those provisions that are in the, I believe they're in state statute, they will be abided by, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Mrs. Chrysalis, do you have any other questions of the applicant or the engineer?
Is the final engineering report, or is it still kind of in the works?
Well, I think the borough engineer got the plans, he reviewed them and he made recommendations that have to be done. And
Yeah.
And they agreed to comply with all of those conditions.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't see that, like the updated stuff. I just saw the original stuff, so I didn't know what new stuff was added. I guess I can ask the town for that too. Yeah. So I guess so. And then as far as like the downspouts and the water runoff, I guess how it's gonna make sure that that's not gonna come onto our.
That all has to go into dry wells. They have to put that underground, you know, so they can't direct any water to your property. Everything on that property has to stay on that property.
Yeah, their lot is uphill of ours.
Yeah.
Ours slopes down to the road, so.
Yeah, there's a big knob in the front right corner of the applicant's property, but for the most of it, it kind of drops away and goes towards the south, I would guess. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you have anything else?
Nope, just my main concern is the large boulders. You know, and when
Yeah.
you start talking about blasting and things like that, that's very scary due to the extreme proximity of those boulders next to the home. And you know, I understand that quality of life issues cannot be commented on by the concerned party, but that is a very, very severe concern on our side, and I would think for most of the surrounding properties, because again, you know, you're talking about people that may work from home and like that, and potential blasting and hydraulic drilling and all of that. Again, 5 to 10 feet right outside of the window.
Yeah,
and that is very intense, you know. And I know most people will say, "Hey, it's going to be over and done with very, very quickly." But we've had tons of experience in the area where that has bled on, you know, days into weeks, into months, and it's a big, big issue. It really, really is. Again, both from a quality of life issue and a foundational structure standpoint.
Well, blasting is highly regulated. They have to put seismographs. I mean, they cannot damage your property, you know, and if they do, then they're liable for that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess they have something like that.
Right, no further questions from you?
No.
I don't think so. No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, next we have Andrew and Allison Diamond.
Mr. and Mrs. Diamond, do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
And would you each state your name and your address, please?
Andrew Diamond, 37 Berkeley Road, Hopatcong, New Jersey.
Allison Diamond, 37 Berkeley Road, Hopatcong, New Jersey.
Thank you very much. If you have any questions of either of the witnesses, time is now to ask them. If not, just comments would be fine. Thank you.
First question, what method is going to be used to remove the stones and bedrock from the property?
Well, as
like
we
I-
said, I'm sorry, Jesse.
Like I said before, yeah, probably a hydraulic hammer. It's very unusual to blast in a neighborhood. So, and obviously, if there's too much rock under where the foundation is going, they would probably not have a basement because it gets cost prohibitive even with a hydraulic hammer to put a basement in solid rock. So it would be placed on a slab rather than a basement. That's yet to be determined.
How are you going to mitigate the vibration to my house?
There's no vibration from a hydraulic hammer.
I beg to differ. Our next door neighbor, we went through this before. Same situation. It went on for months, and it was during the daytime hours and on weekends, and it caused excessive discomfort. So I want to know what you're going to do to mitigate the vibration. There will be, we are on a ledge. And I'd like to know, if I predict there will be, what are you going to do to mitigate the vibrations in my house?
There won't be vibrations. I've been around hydraulic cameras for 45 years, so it only fractures a small area that they're working in.
How long will it take to remove
I can't tell you that. It would depend on the contractor and how much rock they hit. So
We just had a property that they did drilling on to break up the rock at the end of our block, and we could feel it here. We're all connected by the same bedrock, and we can feel it vibrate through our homes.
My next question is, what are they going to be the hours that they're going to be breaking up the rock? What is the scheduling?
I can't answer that.
Well, what are the working time periods that you're going to be?
I'm not the contractor, I'm the engineer, so I can't answer those type of questions. Your town may have an ordinance that says what times they can work or what times they can't, but otherwise they'll be during normal working hours.
And what specific hours are those?
Listen, I think we can, John, I mean, can we just say between 8 and 4:30? I mean, that's not unreasonable. I mean,
I would even recommend between 10 and 3 or 10 and 4. We're not going to start too early and end too late. So even if it comes down to that, I just want to say one thing. We had represented a client who built a house at 1 Berkeley, probably about 12 years ago, 15 years ago. And we did use hydraulic hammers to break up a substantial amount of rock. And the houses that were surrounded that had no problems. Nobody complained. It was done probably in about 2 days of a good amount of jackhammering to build a basement. So we're mindful of it, and we'll make sure we work with the homeowner.
How are you going to do that?
Are you one of the 5 properties that adjoin this property?
Yes, we're within proximity, within 200 feet. We were notified.
Okay, so you don't touch this property, right? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Okay.
We're within
the 200 feet.
We're within the 200 feet.
Okay.
So we have firsthand experience with a house at a similar distance where we had to call the police, and they were jackhammering on weekends past the time limits. I'd like to know what enforcement statutes can the board ensure for our quality of life?
Mr. Chairman, I think that the board, I mean, this is a variance application. I think the board has already indicated that there is you can impose a reasonable time limit for the hydraulic hammering. And I think that, it's certainly reasonable, in my humble estimation, to indicate that it would be Monday through Friday and that none of this activity would occur on weekends.
That's correct.
And from 9 to 3, can we document that in the
resolution?
If the board so finds that that will be in the resolution, believe me.
Okay.
And is there a relief if there is a violation?
The zoning, what would end up happening is that if there's a problem, someone, you in particular, would be able to report it to the zoning officer, and they would be told to stop, and they would be fined if they continue to do it. So that would be the relief that would be. And if they continue to do it, they would then be taken to court, and there would be a stop work order, and there would be other enforcement mechanisms with fines and court.
Mr. Diamond, what hours would be acceptable to you?
From 9 to 3.
Okay, well, I don't think the applicant's going to have a hard time with that. I mean, 9 to 3, 5 days a week, if no weekends.
Right.
No weekends, because we went through this already, Bob, and I don't want to go through it again. Would I also have the authority to issue a summons for a violation in case the zoning officer doesn't?
No, you would not have that authority. You would need to go to the zoning officer to make a complaint, and it's the zoning officer who would issue the summons.
Okay. Next question. How are you going to mitigate the potential for groundwater when you fracture the bedrock?
we're gonna put in underground retention system, either pits or what are called infiltrators if the rock is shallow. So
Is there an engineering study already on this?
no, we're gonna do test pits.
That's a condition of approval.
Yes.
Thanks, John.
Yeah,
Will there be?
and if they can't make the drainage system work, you know, like I said in the beginning, you know, it wouldn't be the first time I send an applicant back to the board if they can't satisfy the stormwater requirements.
I appreciate that. Like I said, we have prior history within the last few years, and it was a debacle. And we called the police, and we had no recourse. They were doing this on weekends. There is no ordinance in the town other than noise ordinance, but the fracturing of the rocks, which went on for an extensive amount of time, vibrated our house, and we had no quality of life. So I'm just trying to ensure that I'm not trying to stop the building of the property. I want to ensure that it doesn't affect me. My next question, will there be a pre and post inspection of foundations within 200 feet of construction by a structural engineer?
That's not required for the for if you're hammering the rock, but it's something the board could consider. You know, the 200 feet might be you know, might be pushing the limits on that to get every property within 200 feet. You know, perhaps all properties within 50 feet or 100 feet might be something to consider.
Okay.
And you would fall into that if we go 100 feet.
We had that problem.
Yeah, there's 39 homes in the 200-foot list.
We experienced that problem already with a prior construction based exactly like this one. So I'm trying to prevent the same problems that we went through.
Well, maybe, I don't know, maybe we can have pre-inspection done on your property prior to that as opposed to trying to do all of them. I mean, if no one else raises a concern about that.
Well,
we just say the immediate, Bob, just, you know, not just like one, just the immediate homes in the area.
The adjacent property owners, John, would that be acceptable?
Yeah, I think just the adjacent, that represents the adjacent plus lot 5. Just include those.
So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 houses.
Yes.
Okay.
Just so that I understand, John, what you're saying is the abutting properties and the Diamonds property.
Correct.
My next question will probably be to the engineer. How will you mitigate the surface flooding from rainwater collected by the structure? I understand you're going to be putting in cisterns or dry wells.
That's correct.
And have you engineering study of the ground and how far?
I just testified to that 2 minutes ago. So
please repeat yourself then for my sake.
I said we were going to do test pits prior to the acceptance or the resolution compliance.
Are we going to be advised at a board meeting of the results?
We'll submit the
No,
results to the engineer.
It'll go to the town engineer, Andy, and he'll approve it, or he'll say you have to go back to the board. So they're either going to comply with what he requires, or if there's a problem, they have to come back to the board, and you will be noticed.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we welcome, you know, if you have concerns during construction or concerns, you know, prior to building permits, you know, you're always welcome. Anyone's welcome to reach out to us to get, you know, some more additional information. You know, that's certainly, you know, appreciate your concerns, and we want to certainly make sure that you're not impacted.
Thanks, John. I'm just saying I was impacted already, and this is a house in a exactly similar circumstance, and I don't want to go through it again. And I want some protection from the board. So I do have some more questions. Where and how will the water be supplied to the new construction?
We've already testified to that. It has a well on site.
And where exactly on the property will the well be drilled?
Already testified to that. It's still left to the dwelling in the front.
Please be specific and advise me again, please.
I testified to that already. It's in the front of the lot to the left of the proposed dwelling.
Do you know how deep you're going to be going?
Have no idea.
Have you done no test on aquifers on the property?
Not for a single lot, no.
Okay, so that's not been done.
Not required.
Understand that, but it doesn't mean it can't be done. So there's been no testing or study of the groundwater supply, correct, sir?
That's what we testified to, yes.
Just a yes or no, please.
That's what I testified to.
Well, repeat your testimony then, please.
Mr. Thomas, do we need to go forward with this?
Well, Mr. Diamond, I understand your concerns, but he did testify that in fact, the well is located, I think he's answered the question. The well is located in the front and he has not done any testing with regard to aquifers. And it's my understanding that that they, at least at this point, they're not intending to do an aquifer test. The well will go down as far as I assume it needs to.
The last time we did this for the house that was built next to us, there's an issue built on a ledge. Rainwater stays on the surface for an extensive amount of time. Has there been any study on surface water and where it's going to go?
Yes, we provided the drainage plan.
Okay. My concern is this. I've gone through this before. It affected our quality of life specifically. And I don't want to go through this again. And I want protections from the board as to vibration, noise, and scheduling. And I want specific times put into the documents so that if there is a violation, I can go to the zoning officer and file complaints. Can that be made accessible?
I think we already pretty much addressed all those, Andy. If we get to a point that we approve this application, all those will be in the resolution.
Very good. I'm done. Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Amy, is there anyone else from the public that wants to come? No? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Does the board have any further questions of the applicant?
Bobby, I mean, as long as they address John Ruskey's concern in his letter, and if RGS provides a letter to each specific item that John had issue with, I think we have to also look into the noise complaint from 9 to 3, obviously, and no weekends. The 6 lots obviously has to be visually inspected, and perhaps maybe even do a well test for the lady that had Danielle. She had 1,000 feet well. Maybe do a pressure test before and after to see if there's anything.
The problem with that is we basically have to drill the well to do the test. So they're required to have a certain yield in the well to get I believe, to get their CO. So
I mean, you could drill 2 wells right next to each other, and one could be 100 feet and one could be 400 feet, and one has water and one doesn't. You know, drilling wells is it's not an exact science, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments to the applicant? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for a motion. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, if there is a motion, I would suggest that the motion, not because I think it should go one way or the other, but it's just easier to have a motion in favor of it, so that way all the board members know that if you vote in favor of the motion, you are approving the request, and if you vote no, you're denying the request. I think that motion should include the series of conditions. They include
Absolutely. I'm gonna put all those in there.
The incorporation of Mr. Ruskey's letter of December the 27th, 2023, subject to resolution compliance. It would also, excuse me, include the requirement that the hours of operation for the drilling or the hammering would be from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. With no weekends being provided, that the applicant would be required to do pre and post foundations inspections for the abutting 5 properties and the Diamond property. And I believe those are the conditions that I found, unless board members have any other conditions.
Those are all of them.
I just have one question about this boulder that was being, but that was brought up. Is this actually part of the ledge rock, or is it just something that's sitting up there freely?
Appears to be ledge rock, Rich, and I don't know if they're going to get to that portion of the property. So I don't even know if it's going to matter, to be honest with you.
God, all right, then I'm good with that. Yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion with all those comments that Mr. Thomas added to it?
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion in a second. Call roll.
Ron Giovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Shirilla,
Yes.
Mr. Delarina,
Yes.
Ms. Crock,
Yes.
Mr. Kusevich,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Rossi,
Abstain.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Gala.
Yes.
Okay, very good. You have your approvals.
Thank you,
Thank you
gentlemen.
very much, everybody.
Okay, have a good night.
Good night. everyone.
Thank you. Appreciate all your time.
All right, next application on the agenda is Jose Sanchez, block 31602, lot 9, 17 Corsica Road. Is Mr. Sanchez here?
Yes, I am.
Mr. Sanchez, are you represented by an attorney in this matter?
No, I'm not.
So therefore, you're going to be testifying with regard to this matter solely. Is that correct?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Sir, do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth? Excuse me, so help you God.
I do.
Would you be kind enough to state your name, spell your last name for the record, and give us the location of your address?
Okay, my name is Jose Sanchez. Last name Sanchez. I'm at 17 Corsica Road, Hoboken, New Jersey.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Why don't you, in your own, excuse me, I apologize, I'm catching a cold. Why don't you express to the board what it is the project's about and what you're seeking to accomplish by it?
Okay, so what I'm trying to accomplish is I have a pergola in the front of the house and a retaining wall that was built to pave the driveway so everything would be uniform.
My understanding that the pergola, excuse me, is, as I read Mr. Rushke's letter, that pergola is already there, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And the retaining wall is for purposes of water retention or water?
I have the street in front of me that the water comes down. I'm going to build up the urn of the, so the water won't come through my property. The prior driveway that was it was there, it was pretty much washed off from the water coming into my property.
Okay. Have you had a chance to review Mr. Rushke's letter of, just one second, December the 28th of last year?
I believe I have all the documents here.
Okay, let me just point out to you item number 4 in his report, which is on the last page. Excuse me. And he indicates that the subject application, yours, states that the proposed retaining wall and paving is to stop stormwater traveling from Orleans Road and Carrollton Road. There is existing asphalt berm along the frontage of the subject property. The applicant should provide testimony on how the proposed retaining wall and grading will stop the stormwater. Can you answer that question for the board?
Yes, I will build up the front of the driveway so the water won't come straight in the way it was coming before.
Mr. Sanchez, the water comes down the hill, jumps the curb and goes down your driveway. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, when it rains fast or a lot, yeah, that's the problem that I was having.
Okay. John, did you go out and look at this at all? I mean, did you,
Yeah, yes, I did. I did. I can appreciate what he's trying to do. I guess what you still have quite a bit of work to do associated with the retaining wall that's immediately off the road, right? You're going to be filling in that entire area? Is that what you're proposing?
I'm going to be, yeah, filling in with the blacktop. So it's more level. Right now, everything is just going down into my property. So I'm going to put the blacktop to come up a little bit more, level it there, and the burn. Is that what you call the in the front of the driveway? It's a burn or how?
yes.
Yeah.
Burn. Okay, so by building that up, see, any car trying to come down because the driveway drops inside my property, it will scratch the bottom of the thing. So I do have to build up the urn of the burn, but I have to make it level to be able to get the car in without scratching.
Okay. Bill Donegan, do you feel comfortable with the calculations that were noted on the application? I'm assuming you went over that with the applicant and those numbers?
Well, I'm the one that basically tried to locate the walls. So, and as a result, I'm the one that did all that. Now, it's not a result of a formal survey showing the items and the showing, everything exactly the way it is. But I did the best that I could, figuring the square footages and everything. Yes.
Okay. Because it is just a driveway. The one thing I didn't deem him incomplete for not having like a lot grading plan because, to hire an engineer just to go through a driveway, it does seem excessive. So I did wanted to certainly see if we can work with the applicant and not have a, overburden with, engineering costs to prepare a detailed plan. On the other hand, it's just we need to make sure that everything gets vented out, with at this time.
John, any indication as to how high this retaining wall is going to be once it's completed?
Well, the retaining wall, I don't believe you're not going to raise the retaining wall any further, correct?
No, it's not going to be raised, and actually the dirt that's on top is going to go behind the retaining wall. The retaining wall, I tried to dig down so I will have the support and it wouldn't be pushed down. But it should be filled out, and 4 feet is what I got, planned to have. Only 4 feet high.
It's going to be 4 feet or less, correct?
Yes. Well, the 4 feet, that's with the caps. So,
but total, the total, it's not going to be considered a structural. If it's over 4 feet, it's going to be a structural wall.
No, it's not going to be 4 feet.
Okay. And we do believe that the one retaining wall that runs parallel with the road and a good portion of the runs perpendicular road is actually in the right of way. Bill, did we issue a letter go out on this to Pat and everyone regarding approval of it encroaching in?
I don't believe we've done that yet. I think
Okay,
that would be
I don't
something
recall
that
seeing it.
I believe it would be a case that if this is a positive scenario tonight, that would be the next step to make sure we have the approval.
Yeah, contingent upon the approval of the encroachment into the right of way by the council.
Yes.
Which is common.
Yeah, and any approval would follow with an indemnification that ultimately the property owner would be responsible for maintenance of the walls encroaching into the right of way.
John, if I can, just let me ask you a question. You have on condition number 6, or item number 6, I should say, not condition. You indicate construction of the retaining wall shall be compliance with code so and so and so and so. Construction detail of the retaining wall should be submitted for review. Is that something, I'm just a little confused as to whether or not, given the fact that it's less than 4 feet, do you want that to still be applicable?
No, I don't think that's, like I said, I inspected it. I have photos of it all. It's not it's a standard modular block wall. I don't have, it looks like it was constructed well. It looks like he put gravel behind the wall. So it looks like it was well constructed.
Thank you.
So we could take item number 6 out then?
Yeah.
Mr. Sanchez, again, I'm making an assumption here, but there are some things that are in the Martin McDonald report that you're going to have to comply with. I think you've testified with regard to number 4, number 5. I think that's already been discussed in terms of any encroachment, excuse me, on the right of way would have to be verified, and then it would be your obligation to rectify that. And there's a question that's been raised in number 7. The applicant should provide testimony if you are constructing an additional parking space adjacent to the road. Is that happening?
No, it's not.
Okay, so the walls are just supporting the driveway to go in.
Yes.
Okay. You're working with a contractor to do this work?
I have contacted a couple contractors for the paving, and but the wall was done through a friend, which is a contractor.
And the last couple of questions that I have is that you've indicated that there is the pergola in the front yard. How long has that been there?
I did it over the summer. There's a walkway coming into the house. The pergola does not stand, past the walkway, and I believe it's 9.3 feet by 15 feet. But
Okay,
it doesn't go beyond the walkway.
All right. So, and as I'm looking at the picture, it's that I have in my file, it's it's to the right. I'm sorry, to the left of the stairs, where it is.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. And maybe you could just describe it. Is it in keeping with the house? In other words, its architecture is compatible with the existing house.
Yes, it is. It's sturdy enough. I did make sure that it wasn't flimsy. It was done, with good taste. It's a little heaven, a little space that we use for relaxation right in front of the house. And by the way, my property goes one whole floor down from the main road. So I'm like all the way in the bottom by itself.
So what you're saying is because your house and therefore the pergola is below the roadway, it's less visible from the roadway and therefore presumably from people across the street and abutting properties. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Excuse me. I have no other questions.
Okay. Any other questions? Does any other board members have any questions for this applicant?
I do have a question.
Good.
The pergola itself, is it a freestanding pergola or is it attached to the front of the house?
I attached it to the house for security, so it wouldn't be, moving.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll open this application to the public. Does anybody from the public wish to comment on this application? Go to the bottom of your screen and reactions. Hit the yellow hand. See any? No? Okay, no one from the public. I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the board. I guess we'll wait for a motion. Does anybody have a motion on this application?
Mr. Chairman, if there is such a motion, it would appear as though it would have to be including, the variances that are being requested. That talks about the front yard setback, the non-conforming coverage, et cetera, that are listed in Mr. Rushke's letter. Excuse me. it would seem to me that, and I'll defer to John if I'm missing something, but it would seem to me that he's already testified with regard to number 4, if the board concurs. There is further, there's no requirement at this point based upon Mr. Rushke's comments that number 6 or number 7 are necessary as any conditions. It appears that if you are inclined to grant the variance for the pergola, there could be, if you choose to find these facts to be true, that the pergola does not extend beyond the existing walkway, that it is, there's an indication that it is architecturally compatible with the house. It is also attached to the house, so there's potentially an argument that it is not a separate structure, but maybe attached to the house. But assuming that that's not the position of the board, you do have the opportunity to look at it as a C2 variance, which is are the benefits of the deviation outweighing the detriment, and the benefits are that there is what is an architecturally compatible structure that is not adversely affecting any of the abutting property, since it's now below a grade, so to speak, and it's less than visible from abutting properties, and therefore it is advancing a purpose of zoning, which is purpose I, which is an aesthetic improvement to the house. So you could find all of those things. And as far as the negative criteria, you know, is there an adverse impact to abutting property? If you find that because it's lower, you can and not terribly visible, you can find that there's no substantial detriment to the public good, and that there's no substantial detriment to the importance of the zone plan, since it is attached to the house, and therefore you could find that it is in effect a variance, but a technical variance, and that would be sufficient as a basis for the variance if you find it to be the case. So on that basis, it would seem to me that other than the subject to encroachment that Mr. Rushke's already talked about, and verifying, and maybe you want to end up having a condition to indicate that the retaining wall will be as it currently exists, which is less than 4 feet, so that there's no issue with regard to item number 6. Those are the only conditions that I find, unless, John, you've got something else.
And just that the applicant will need to apply for a road opening permit for the town for work within the right of way, and he has to get approval from the council for the encroachments.
And I get that through
either approval, or he's going to have to remove them, one or the other.
Correct. So, yeah, Bill Donigan can help you with that additional work.
Okay.
All right, that was a pretty thorough examination of that applicant. So,
I tried to do it in 25 words or less, but I am, after all.
nah, you weren't even close. No, but okay. Do we have a motion on this application with all those all Mr. Thomas's comments?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Ron Giovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Shirella,
Yes.
Mr. Dellarina,
Yes.
Ms. Crock,
Yes.
Mr. Kusevich,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Rossi,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Galak.
Yes.
Okay, you have your approvals.
There you go, Mr.
Thank you very much. And by the way, I was really afraid getting in front of all you guys, but it was very smooth going through this. I do thank you all.
All right, have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay, that concludes new applications. We had no continued applications, so the next order of business, this meeting is open to the public. Anybody from the public wish to comment on any application or any other business before this board?
If I may, Chairman. My name is Doug Sklar. I'm an attorney in Roxbury. I represent Chaplin Homes, Inc. We're not on the agenda, and I was called fairly late into the process, but my understanding is, as my client has developed a property on Richards Road, 25 Richards Road, as it crosses Bell, at the cross section of Bell, because I know Richards ends and then picks up again. I'm handling the sale of that property, which we have an expectation or was hoping to close next week, late next week. My client contacted me and advised that there was a question, I believe, from the town with regard to the road width, and that he could not secure a final certificate of occupancy. I'm going to let him speak to more of the background, and I'll jump in here and there because, again, I kind of got into this late, not knowing that there existed that issue. And he is on, it says Madison Chaplin, so I'm going to ask him to jump on right now if I could. Brian?
Mr. Scott, yes. We've gone through it pretty much. Maybe John, you could step in here and we can clarify this and see where we're at.
Yes.
Sure, great.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Bill Haggerty addressed it the last time. Basically, you basically have two options. First is that you can reapply to the board to amend the resolution to apply for a variance to construct a driveway on an unimproved roadway. You did not obtain that variance when you applied for the subdivision. You represented that the road was going to be upgraded to meet residential site improvement standards. So you can either go back to the board, and that would require notification to amend the resolution, or the request that Mr. Kaplan, suggested and I didn't object to, is that we have to, because the resolution was to improve the roadway, ultimately it now turns to the mayor and council to accept the improvements in the roadway as they are and not require any further improvements. So the next step is to have this go to the mayor and council. And we're going to try to get that to the mayor and council as soon as possible. Unfortunately, we are in the interim period where we're going to be securing an interim administrator. We just have an issue to get this to the mayor and council agenda, but that's the two options. And so I already spoke to the construction code official that they don't take exception to issuing a TCO for the close of the property, but for a final CO, you need to come back to the board to amend the application, or you need the mayor and council approval for leaving the road improvements as is.
All right, and if I may, again, I'm flying a little bit blind, so forgive me. I wasn't involved until, unfortunately, yesterday. The resolution you're speaking of, was that was back in June of 21 with the then owner / developer of the property?
Correct.
Okay, which you understand is different and apart from he sold the lot to my client.
Understood, but the approvals run with the property, not with the individuals.
No, and I understand that you made reference to you, and I wanted to make sure that not that there's necessarily a record that's useful, and my reading of that resolution was that they would bring it up to the standards that you said. Was there some finding that the road itself did not comply with the standards?
Well, it doesn't. It doesn't meet the residential site improvement standards. And the point that was made is that the road is in fair condition. It's not new, it's not newly paved, but it is in fair condition. And is there a need to do those improvements? And that's what the request was made, is to waive that requirement.
I guess what I'm asking is, because I wasn't involved back when, and I'm sort of flying blind again, but the developer of that property, or whoever was partitioning it and entered into at the time of the resolution, was there some inspection done after that to know that those requirements were not met or addressed by the seller to my client or the developer at that time?
Well, we know almost every road in the PACON doesn't meet the residential site improvement standard. So if you want to go and do chorus to say that it meets that standard, you can certainly do that, but I think you'd be wasting your time.
No, I don't think I want to take it that far. And just so I'm clear, and I was looking today, what is the minimum width requirement? And I think that's what we're talking about, is a width requirement.
No, it's actually the construction itself, having a proper sub base and a base course and a top course of the pavement. So it's actually constructing a road. So I think that the board did give some latitude regarding the width of the road and the length of the road. And there was some deviation of the residential site improvement standards to some degree, given the fact that it was only servicing those individual homes. So we didn't require that a full cul-de-sac be constructed or that, but there was minimum standards that were required.
All
John,
right.
let me
And-
ask you this. What is the quickest way to resolve this? How quickly can this get to the mayor and council or whoever has to? I mean, it's just, I don't want to see Mr. Chaplin get
You know,
drawn out.
I can't speak for the mayor and council. If one of the council members were questioned, why isn't a developer spending money and paving the road, do some improvements to the road? I can't speak to the council on what their position is going to be. Certainly the board, going to the land use board and recognizing that this is certainly within your jurisdiction to consider this as a variance of not constructing the road and having the driveway on an unimproved road. You have that jurisdiction to authorize that. And in fact, the board has done that in other locations. It's, you either go to I can't speak to either the land use board or the council, but it would seem the land use board, since they're more familiar with the application, it probably would be better to come back to the land use board to get that approval or deviation from the resolution. But, certainly, but that's going to require notice. That's going to require the whole process. But going to the council, it's just a matter of getting in front of the council. And I mentioned this briefly because the former administrator was on the board. He was familiar with it to the degree, and it was him really taking the lead regarding, putting in, going forward with it on the agenda with the mayor and council, and that just kind of fell through the cracks. Or I'm not sure where. I don't want to misrepresent it. I'm not sure where he left at, but that was something that we just need to pick up and discuss that to get it on the mayor and council agenda. But then like I said, the mayor and council is just, they're going to be picking this up blind and will probably want some background. I'm not sure if they're going to want me at the meeting, and so it's just a little more complicated going to the mayor and council.
So if I could kind of further to Mr. Ray's question and help myself and my client, is there something either that we need to do from an applicant standpoint to get in front of the town council, or would it make sense to put together some sort of a brief of the facts and submit it, or is that something that you guys will take care of for us?
Well, so certainly I think, if you, attorney to attorney may expedite it if you get it in front of, you prepare a letter and request to be on the agenda through John Urson, that's certainly.
Okay. Yeah, I know John.
Yeah, that may be the just to keep the ball rolling so that John is the voice, and he attends all the meetings, and he can, I believe John is familiar with this application because, there was discussions from the very beginning regarding constructing this road and such. So that may be, more advantageous to do.
All right, very good. I mean, I think we'll pursue the TCO at this point because I don't see any other options, and then we'll address the approvals we need either from the land use board or from the town council. We'll move in that direction. I appreciate you're taking some time and discussing it.
Great, thank you. All right, anybody else from the public have any comment or questions of the board?
Mr. Chaplin.
Hello, my name is Brian Chaplin from Chaplin Homes. A T will not, the bank will not accept a T, and I'm going to be sued by next week. I need a CO. Is there a bond I could lay or something? Because I could go over these roads and adjacent, all of these roads adjacent. The top of Richards is 19, the middle's 18. The by my driveway is 23. In front of my driveway, where I put the road in, is 37. Mountain's 19. The other Richards is 19. Hammerley is 19. Ford is 14. Hudson is 14, 16, 18. Sutton is 12 and 13.
It's, you know, you're opening up the case regarding, you know, the board had a specific improvements that need to be done. You know, bonding could be considered. I think if you're bonding it would just have to, again, if you reach out to John Urson, just to, if there needs to be a quick agreement and make sure that he's acceptable on the form of the bond, you know, that's something that, you know, could be looked at.
Am I allowed to speak?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to be sued. I'm going to be sued next week for this closing, and the bank will not accept a T. They want a CO. They will not accept it. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm here with my daughter. I'm shaking over this. This is we've built 50 homes in Opakon. I've never had a problem like this. This road is what it is. All the roads around it are all the same.
Yeah, and no, we're not arguing. It's just a matter of legally, you know, the board cannot act on the amending the resolution, and that's what, you know, Bill Haggerty indicated, that in order to amend the resolution, it would have to be renoticed because you would be applying for a different variance that was obtained with the initial subdivision. So, you know, the board can't legally take action right now with this.
Mr. Chaplin, Roger Thomas here, on behalf of Mr. Haggerty. You know, the board may sympathize with your situation, but there are rules that this board has to follow, and they can't waive those rules. The reality is, if you want to come back to the board, you're going to end up having to file a new application for the variance that you're requesting and give notice. And that means it's not going to be done, unfortunately, within the next 10 days. Maybe what you need to do is whoever's going to sue you indicate that you are in the process of you know, working this out and get a little bit more time. But beyond that, this board is not in a position to be able to say that, you know, magically we can do something to make sure that you don't get sued in 10 days. We can talk about it. We can talk around it. You've gotten a couple of options. One is coming back to the board. One is going to the town council. Those are the two options. It doesn't sound like, unless you can negotiate an extension, doesn't sound like there's anything that this board can do, certainly at this time, to meet your deadline, unfortunately, of 10 days.
I think the third option of a bonding, I personally would not object to it. I just want to make sure that John Urson is acceptable to him. And he would just, you know, dictate the form of the bond that he would want. So that's, you know, that's your third option to consider.
Well, that would be, I assume what that would be, John, is that would be in effect going back to the council to end up.
Yeah, but it's also, we can consider it, you know, that's where it's a little gray, that we can try to do our best to work, you know, with Mr. Chaplin. I think if it's because we had situations too where even if it's a new single family home being constructed, you know, we've posted bonds for soil erosion and other measures, you know, in order to get the CO. And I can appreciate, you know, most banks don't want the TCO, they want a CO. So, you know, I think that ideally, I think was a developer agreement actually signed for prior to the building permits? No, that wasn't done. Okay, well, that's you know, unfortunately, that's because the development agreement should have been executed for construction of the road, so that you would have been ahead of the game if you got that done, you know, up front. But
I'm going to speak.
I think those are the options, Mr. Chaplin, that you can pursue. If you can get I guess from what John's indicating, if you can get a bond and get it to the town attorney or to the borough attorney within the next 10 days, maybe you've got a shot. But beyond that, this board is, I would be remiss and I would be sued if I ended up telling this board that, oh yeah, you can do something today. They can't. It's beyond.
John, in your estimate, that would be the quickest way to get this.
Yeah, I think a bond. Yeah, I think a bond, because, you know, we also have to look at the, you know, the rights and you know, of our new resident that's going to come into Opakon, and ultimately as the property owner, they're going to be held responsible for satisfying the board resolution. And so, you know, we also want to protect that new property owner that's coming in. So we want to protect their interests, and a bond would do that, because, you know, then any liability of if the council, you know, it goes to council and the council wants some work done, at least there's a bond in place to cover that work.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
Am I allowed to speak?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna lose, they're gonna lose their mortgage commitment next week on the 14th. I have a major problem here. I don't know what to do. I've never, ever,
I think,
ever dealt with
I think
anything
you
like
have
that.
your attorney, is your attorney still here? I would suggest that he reach out to John Anderson tomorrow.
Brian, I'm
You know,
still
you know,
here.
posting a bond is not something that's difficult to do. You know, if you can't get a surety, then unfortunately you're gonna have to post a cash bond. But you know, there is an avenue to you know, have this resolved quickly.
I'll talk to Mr. Urson tomorrow and address the issue. I can appreciate my client's desperation at this point. And I'm sure you've heard it in his voice, but I will broach it with Mr. Urson and see what avenues we can go down to expedite anything and try and get the CO that we need.
Yeah,
But
I'm
thanks
around
again
tomorrow
for your
too,
time.
so
I
if you want to
appreciate
get
it.
a three-way call with John, that's fine.
I think that's the best approach, because otherwise we're just gonna keep on spinning our wheels.
Yeah.
Kaplan is going to continue to indicate that he's got a problem, and we appreciate that he's got a problem, but this board cannot resolve that problem in the next 10 days.
All right, and the three-way conversation with who did you suggest? I'm sorry, with Mr.
Well,
Urson and who else?
myself, John Urson, and you, and we can
Very
just,
good.
you know, just work out the issue, how we would, you know, do the bond.
Sounds good. I'll reach out to him tomorrow and we'll be in touch. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with the bond, but I don't want to promise and, you know, get John cut my legs off and say, no, we can't do that. So, you know, I just, you know, let's just pull John in to make sure it's going to be acceptable.
Thank you, counsel. I think we've got as much of an answer from this board as you can get tonight. Thank you again.
I agree. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay. Good night.
All right, thank you. Anybody else from the public have any comments for the
Yes,
board?
Councilwoman Rodriguez.
Go right ahead. Hello?
Hi there. Sorry.
Hi.
I was muted. I just wanted to welcome Mr. Kusevich and Mr. Shirella to the board. It's great to see your guys' involvement. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you. Anybody else, Danielle? Do we see anybody else? No other comments? Okay, I'll close it to the public and bring the meeting back to the board. Next order of business is adjournment. Do I have a motion? Nope.
Amy?
Just real quick, we do not have any applicants for.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, we have no business for the next meeting. We have no applicants, nothing on the agenda. So I guess we'll just cancel the next meeting, the next scheduled meeting, and then when's the next meeting after that?
And it would be March 5th.
March 5th. So March 5th would be our next meeting. So there's no reason to have a meeting. We have nothing going on. Do we need a motion for that?
You don't. You just cancel the meeting. There's no requirement for any motion.
Okay. Okay. All right. That's
Wait.
it.
I think Councilman Rodriguez wants to speak again.
I'm sorry, just one quick question. I know public comment is. Oh, okay,
Go ahead,
sorry.
Rachel.
At the reorg meeting, did you guys discuss rediscussing going back in person or remaining on Zoom? I believe it was going to be discussed at the last February meeting, but if the next one's being canceled, should you guys discuss that this evening?
The only problem with that is we have March 5th and March 19th already being noticed.
They've already been noticed for Zoom.
For Zoom out, yes.
Okay.
Oh,
No,
so
and that's
maybe-
fine. Yeah.
Maybe at our next meeting, we'll have to establish a date where we're gonna go back to in-person meetings.
Or just discussed. It was, I know the reorg meeting, you guys said, I think the next meeting, it would just be discussed. So that's why with it being canceled, I just wanted to bring that back up to put on your radar. That was it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're all set then?
I just have a question real quick. Have
Go
there
right
been notices already for the April land use meeting? Or can we start doing, or take a vote to start doing in-person meetings for April?
There's been no noticing for the April meeting. Just for the 2 March meetings.
I think our first meeting in March I don't know whether we have to have a vote on going back to in-person, or we just say, okay, listen, the first meeting in April, we'll be back in person.
And then there's just, depending upon what you've done in the past, you may need to notice that you're getting out of the Zoom format, and then there'll be live meetings, and I'm sure Amy's more than capable of doing that.
Yeah, Bob, it may be worth, discussing now, because if anyone in March, if someone comes in for an application, they're gonna want to advertise for April, so you really need to
True.
discuss it sooner than later.
So maybe, I mean, we can,
Yeah.
let's just say the first meeting in April, we'll be back in person. I mean, do we
Yeah,
need,
yeah, makes sense.
no? So any advertisement for April is gonna have to be an in-person meeting. That's all.
Do we want to discuss the pros and cons of it? Or do we just want to do it?
Well, I don't know, you know. We can do that if you, I mean, you, certainly, I mean, if you have some questions about Auntie, go right ahead. I mean, concerns or.
Well,
I mean,
I think it'd be worthy of talking what what the pros and cons are of going back in person or not. I mean, frankly, with some of the board members, myself included, we're able to make more of the meetings because of the fact that it is via Zoom. I'm not so sure what the negatives are. It does seem like we get more of the public coming out to the meetings when they are Zoom meetings. I don't know what the negatives are. I thought it would be just worth having a discussion in terms of the value for, the value against, doing it in Zoom or doing it in person.
yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I could go either way on it. I mean, it's,
Well, I mean, it's so far this format, it was a little bumpy in the very beginning, in terms of getting it together, but I think the board has done an incredible job of making that work out. So I'm not seeing any negatives in terms of having it be remote. Certainly if there's somebody in the public or somebody on the board that sees negatives or any of the positives, let's hear it.
Well, for starters, I would like to just add that tomorrow's council meeting will be our first meeting that we're actually doing on a live stream. We've had cameras and speakers installed in the council chambers, so the public will be able to watch the meeting live while the meeting is taking place. And that would go into play for land use meetings also, to where we would have more of the public seeing, just like the Zoom.
Yeah, on the live
We'd
stream,
actually
the
be in
difference, the only live stream difference with the live stream, and correct me if I'm wrong, on the live stream, they can't comment or participate in that manner. They can simply observe what's happening. Unlike, for example, our meeting tonight where everybody can participate when they do join. But do we feel that there are people that actually can't or do not join the land use board or even the council meetings if they were in a Zoom format? Because they don't have the ability or the technology to be able to connect. Do we think that we're missing a number of people in town that would like to join but can't? I don't know have we gotten any complaints, Danielle or Amy, from people wanting to join and not being able to make it? Okay, so I don't.
No complaints.
No complaints, and we do have it's divided, but a lot of people like it, the fact where some the younger generation with younger kids like to be able to come on Zoom because they can't get in person because they have the children home. And then, I mean, nobody really a lot of people have been able to get onto it now that we make it more accessible online, and they do reach out to me and I do a little tutorial for them. So if they do have any questions, I can get them on.
Yeah.
We do some sort of hybrid?
Unfortunately, the hybrid tends to be a problem. I don't know if the borough has a technology. It has been my experience that if you end up doing, as it has been suggested for the council meetings, you don't have the ability for members of the public to participate. So therefore, if you have an objection, you're gonna have to be at the meeting.
Yeah, I agree with you. The hybrid meetings tend to be very messy. It's very difficult to get those to work well. Even in a corporate environment, we see the same problem. I think there are other advantages though too. Certainly the availability of the information and be able to have it. I mean, the packets get a little bit unwieldy sometimes for some of the applications themselves. That's an arduous task of having to make all those copies all the time. And if you are doing it on a computer, you are able to get access to that information very, very easily. So I don't think that we've lost anything. I don't feel that we've lost anything by having Zoom meetings for the land use board meetings. I don't know if anybody else has a different opinion on that.
I know having a Zoom meeting, it's a lot easier for certain individual, but I know talking to a couple people in town that they do want the land use board to get back in, in person. That was a few complaints that I got. Is it easier? Yes.
Did they mention
Hi.
did they have any thoughts regarding why they preferred the in-person meetings? That's the part I'm trying to understand is where's the value add when you do it in person versus the way that we have been doing it?
There have been, in my experience, and I don't know your experience because I'm only here very occasionally, but my experience is that there is a tendency when you end up having them through Zoom, there's the ability to really interact with the applicant, and then like today, people were pretty articulate and had a good opportunity. But there are times when people are doing things on Zoom and it doesn't come across as well as when you do it live. So there is that potential for some people. If you're very articulate and you have the ability to work the technology, it works well. If you're not so, I don't want to use the word articulate, but if you're not in a position to be able to communicate well on camera, which some people can't, the live meeting is a better way to do it. But that's just some people, and I have no idea what the survey might be in terms of that response.
May I say something? My name is Erica Dennis.
This is
only a board discussion.
Oh, okay, sorry, thank you. But one last question, I'll be able to speak when you're done? I have a question.
The open public meeting portion has already been concluded. This is really a board discussion, and the next item, matter of fact, the chair had already called for a.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. Is there any way that we can get that back? I've been waiting 2 hours to chat with you.
Well, you had the opportunity. In any event, it's up to the board.
Okay, board, is that possible that I could take 5 minutes of your time?
I mean, we did open it and we did close it to the public. I mean, I don't know how you missed it.
I'm sorry, I was with John Latimer. We just came out of the car, was sitting down with all the paperwork waiting, and it was maybe 10 seconds that you said open to the public and then close it. I'm here with John, and we are ready with the paperwork. Can you just give us 5 minutes?
I don't know, Mr. Thomas, what is your, I mean, I don't know how.
I'm concerned that, you're changing your protocol, and obviously that is up to you, but I'm also concerned that, the young lady is representing a mere 5 minutes, but she's saying that she's got all of her paperwork, and I wonder if.
Yeah, it's just a photograph.
Hold on. And I'm wondering if in fact we're getting into what amounts to a fairly long discussion, which could be the board has chosen not to do. There certainly is going to be another meeting, and there'll be an opportunity to be heard. And I'm assuming that whatever you choose to be discussing is clearly not anything that's on the agenda at this time.
But you are postponing the next meeting, which makes the letter from Mr. Donegan passed. Because Mr. Donegan sent me a letter and he's requesting that I have it done by the 23rd.
Well,
is there any way that, yes.
In that case, if there's a letter involving Mr. Donegan, I think that this
Yes.
is now already beyond the jurisdiction of the board. So I think that therefore it's something that you need to deal with in terms of Mr. Donegan. If you have a problem, you have the right to appeal, and that becomes an application that comes before this board. So to simply, and I'm concerned that if that is the potential, that this conversation really becomes inappropriate, and it should be held as part of an appeal application. So with all due respect, I think, Mr. Chairman, at this point, on what I know now, I think that it would be inappropriate to end up reopening the meeting under these circumstances.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
Because
thank you.
apparently we missed it. Thank
Right,
you.
So, I mean, I guess we're done. I mean, there's no other, we discussed about the going back to in person, I don't know where we got with that. I mean, I don't know where we're.
I'm not a big fan of straw polls in applications, but this is not an application. If you wanted to get a quick sense of the board members, Mr. Chairman, you can do that, and then you can go to adjournment.
Okay, well, let's take a straw poll of the, going back to in-person meetings. I mean,
Maybe
I guess
that's the motion. It's not a motion. Yeah,
well,
it's the inclination, right?
all right, I guess, Amy, you can call the roll call.
Mr. Von Giovanni,
No.
Mr. Sharilla,
Yes.
Mr. Delarina,
No.
Ms. Crock,
It doesn't matter to me one way or the other.
yes or no?
Can't sit on the fence, Judy.
That sounds like it's a yes and no.
That's me.
Can't count it both ways. If you want to,
Well-
I guess that's what you're doing, I gather.
Abstaining?
She's gonna abstain.
Why don't you move on?
Okay, next.
Mr. Kukovic,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Rossi,
No.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Councilman Smith,
I would prefer to see it come back in person, please.
That's a
Mayor
yes.
Clark.
Yes.
I thought that was.
Six yeses, 3 nos.
So, okay, well, I guess, the first meeting in April will be in person.
Be in person. We'll see you then.
Very good.
All right.
Ladies
All
and
right,
gentlemen, see you all.
Next item is a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, we're adjourned. Have a good night. Thank you.
Good night,
Thank you, everybody.
Everybody.
Good night, everyone.